What's up, guys? It is the Bad Wolf. Let's get started. As always, guys, it is a pleasure to see each and every one of you guys, even though I can't actually see you, but you guys can see me. But I do want to thank those people who do email me on occasion just to say thank you for this knowledge and helping them and changing their lives and sending pictures of themselves and your family. Um, thank you for that. I'm technically still on vacation. Uh, but you guys know me. It was more of a staycation anyway. I did get to spend a little bit more time with my loved ones or whatever else. But I just can't stay away from dropping knowledge on you guys. So even though I've got like 2.5 more weeks, and then I'm going to be making some videos. Well, actually, I'm going to make some videos so that when I jump back on the scene, they are ready to go. All right. I'm going to have probably, I don't know, 14. So usually I do about 7 or 8 at the beginning of the month and maybe mid-month or end of the month. So if you guys are not seeing those, understand that you need to go to my YouTube channel and click that bell, like, and subscribe because I'm probably being shadow banned lightly. Okay. Now, with that, okay, something just flew by. With that being stated, as you can see, my room is a mess, but I do have new books, American law, American jurisprudence, about a ton of those. You probably can't see, but on the floor over there, I've got tons of files and forms, some good, some bad, some other, some denials. But that's okay because each time they deny me, I get better. And all they're doing is making a better wolf. So I'm okay with it. I have to learn patience even more so than I already have. And that is probably one of my weaknesses because let's put some hands and some pibbity paps on people and make some things happen. So it's so hard to be woosah. So, but for real, I'm just giving you guys really this is my personality. Because I know that they're playing games and they know what we're trying to do. But because we're trying to leave hell and they're holding, like Morpheus said in the Matrix, they're holding all of the keys, they're guarding all of the doors, and they have control over all the locks. So we must play a certain type of game in order to get there. But that's okay because each time they do that, the funniest part is that it makes me innovate and I become 100 times better. That's what happens when you have an IQ over 161. So that being the case, let's get into this particular video. So we are going to be talking about police misconduct. All right. Now, some of the videos and seminars that are going to be coming up, I'm going to be going into great depth. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll give you guys, once again, a little prelude of what seminars are coming up. These will all be the paid ones. Well, the free ones will just be free. And I'll just, post them up. These are going to be the paid ones, but we're going to go into each one of these topics will be a seminar, and I found a website that will host these video platforms because the one I'm on currently right now doesn't allow this, and I don't want to make it messy and cumbersome where I have to, you have to rely and wait on me to do this and do that and get back to you. I'm trying to streamline everything and make it as smooth as possible. So each one of these topics is going to be a seminar that you guys will be able to buy the full version. Now, these aren't going to be like my normal videos. These are going to be full, in-depth, every nook, cranny that I have been able to find. I'm going to show you guys how to find the information and how to put your things together. These are going to be all the remedies that I know. Like literally, when most people do a consultation, it's been on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Most of my consultations have been on these 10 specific subjects, and I'll still be doing consultations, even if it's over these topics. That's fine. If you guys need, of course, but to reach a greater amount of people, like I said, guys, I've never done this because of the money. I do this and then the money comes. All right. That's why I keep my prices low, unlike a lot of other people out there. But I'm not, everything that I've given you guys already has been effective. Maybe not 100%, because remember, some of those agents out there will ignore you, and you're going to have to escalate it to their boss, their boss's boss, uh, attorney general, FBI, or the district court, or whatever else. Okay, so you may have to escalate it, but the information, these, it's your freedoms, your rights, and your liberties. So these 10, and then we'll get to the video, are going to be the areas where I'm going to go into depth, and you guys will be able to have the master overstanding like I do by the time you're done with these courses. All right. And they'll be anywhere from an hour to 4 or 5 hours long. Okay. I'm going to make sure you guys, you get what you want. So, anyway, let's get to it. So, one of them, the first, not the first one, but just in no particular order, is going to be on land patents. Okay. And uh, I've also discovered some other things along with land patents on how to remove your house from the system. Okay. The proper way, the legal way. Two, court. Teach you guys how to deal with court. And there's going to be a basic version, a mid, and a full. Okay. You can get one, two, three, or watch them all. If you get the full version, obviously it's going to cover everything in the other two. But for some people who, maybe can't afford the full one, you have the minimum version, and all of them are going to be enough. Matter of fact, all the information I've already given you guys has been enough to get people out of their court cases and whatever else, depending on what you've done. Okay. And then we're going to talk about house and property tax exemption, proper way to do it. Because I've been going back and forth with mine. Other people have been successful in their states with how I've told you guys to do it. Because my state, or actually, I've got property in two different states, and they work and operate differently. Okay, so I'm going to combine everything so you guys have the master class to beat that ass, no matter what state you're in, how to get your stuff private and tax exempt. All right. The next one is how to fight right to travel cases. So I'm going to have a video seminar on that. Another one's going to be private trusts. Another one's going to be court case breakdown. This is probably going to be one of the big ones. The court case breakdown is for anybody who's got a court case. I'm going to step you through how to analyze every single thing in your court case the proper way, create it, and then how to properly submit it so that you're successful in your court case. As long as you haven't hurt anybody or done damage, most of that can be dealt with. And I'm going to break down, I'm going to give you guys probably a good 90% of what I've learned. And then some things are a little more controversial to do. So I'm not going to give you guys anything that's going to get you into trouble, just things that already work. Some of the other stuff, yeah, it works, but it comes with unwarranted attention. So, but I'm going to give you guys the coup d'etat, as they say, 90% of everything I've learned in the courts from lawyers and some judges on the private side, things I've gone through, etc. The other one is going to be about micronation. All right, we've been doing our micronations, but I want to take it to the next level. And when you watch the video, you'll understand why, and we're going to cover all that. The next one's going to be IRS, all of the IRS remedies that I've learned, and how to move with that. Okay. And then the other one's going to be foreclosure. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff in there, so that's going to be a lot of help for people who are going through foreclosure. And then the last one, I'm going to give away a good chunk, not all, can't give away all my secrets, but it's going to be called Secrets Revealed. And I'm going to give away a lot of inside stuff, and all this is education and entertainment purposes that I've learned to help you in your daily life, why I'm successful at a lot of this, and how and can't give away who I've learned, but I'll give you guys enough to understand where a lot of this knowledge comes from and some of the processes that people have done in the private. Now, obviously, I cannot give away certain things that might be considered either illegal or unlawful that I've learned. Not going to ever do anything to put you guys in any trouble. I've gotten a lot of inside tips from people. Some I validated and vetted, and some I haven't. Okay, so I'm not going to give you guys the stuff that I haven't vetted. All right, it's just because, I don't want to get you guys in trouble and I don't want anything trying to come back to me. So it's always disclaimer. We are not responsible for anything that you guys have learned here through my videos or through files or whatever else. You're grown, you take your own responsibility in your own hands. Okay. Just have to give the disclaimer because that's what it is. You're grown, do your own research, but we'll get you there. Now, without further ado, let's get to the video on police misconduct. All right. So, police misconduct. So, what is it? So, first of all, because I know there's a lot of officers who do watch my videos, I have no problem with any officer who is a good officer of the law, not the ones who feel like, oh, I have a badge. I can tell you to do whatever I want because I'm. No, you are still held accountable to the state law. And if you didn't know this, you're still held accountable to constitutional law and private law as well. You have to respect those things because those things govern what you do. They are superior. You don't know a lot about them because your training process, which is 9 months, I know because I was starting to become a cop, doesn't teach you everything. They teach you specifically what you need to know on a minimal basis. That's why they have you contact your CO or your commanding officer, who then also reports to the chief of police, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. I know these things. Cops in my family, cops next door. Actually, they just moved, I think. Um, I've had cops do things for me. I know good cops, I know dirty cops, I know good sheriffs, I know dirty sheriffs. Okay. I think I learned all this stuff. All right. So understand that when some of y'all out there don't overstand the information, that there are two different types of persons in the United. Well, there's actually more than this, but generally in your police training manual, they refer to either U.S. citizens or foreign nationals. Foreign national means the same thing legally as a non-resident, as a state citizen, as a national of the United States, or anybody who's considered private but has the lawful ability and legal ability to be here. So, under that one word, all of that falls underneath. You, as officers, even sheriffs, do not have control over those people. However, if any of those people are doing anything to endanger the public or public safety or doing criminal trespass, then you do. Other than that, they don't have to waive their rights to be regarded as a U.S. citizen. However, if any of them are utilizing their U.S. citizen name and you can find it in their database, even though they're private, if they do something, yes, they can be held to the letter of the law. They are not above the law. Okay, nobody is. So I know some of you guys like to use the term because, yes, I have people out there, like I just said before, who are police officers, tell me things, and I hear things all over the place. You'd be surprised what I know. All right. Remember back to Blue Line, right? Um, that you guys want to refer to people like me as YouTube lawyers. Okay. No, legally I would be considered an attorney in fact. Okay. There's a difference, but it's cute. It's cute. You guys have these little terms that have no standing in law, just like the use of sovereign citizen has no standing in law. You can't prosecute something you don't own. And as a police officer, you cannot just say, well, you have to do what I say. You have to give a code and you also have to have, I'm sorry, guys, what is it? RAS, reasonable articulate suspicion that this person has committed a crime or is endangering public safety before you can act on anything. Yeah, I know these things. Like I said, I'm not here to play games. So anybody who's operating above their scope of the law or has been properly informed by somebody who's knowledgeable, you have to respect that because you are, in fact, a public servant. You serve the public. A police officer does not have the power, nor does he have judicial capability, meaning to judge. A police officer is not a judge. You can't judge. You can only ascertain if this person is committing a crime or if they're a U.S. citizen and they've broken a public statute as a member of the public. Two different things going on here. You guys have control over public persons, but not private persons. Or excuse me, private citizens. You actually do have control over private persons, not private citizens. There's a difference. So a police officer cannot just tell you, do this. And that includes Like, let's say like, and this has happened, police officers be like, oh, miss whatever her name is, take off your clothes and let me essay you. Can't do that. You cannot do that. So you do have the right to resist and fight back in certain scenarios where you feel your safety or whatever, it needs to be protected. You absolutely have the right, but you need to be careful and you need to be smart about it because they'll just try to label you as resisting arrest, which I've seen they use that for, they throw that around like sand. Resisting arrest, resisting arrest. Did you know that there's such a thing as an unlawful arrest? Yes. That means that the actual law, which a police officer is not the law, a police officer is legal. Actually, police officers are considered private security for the public legally. An actual lawful officer is a marshal or a attorney general deputized person or a sheriff because they're operating under the Constitution or they are supposed to, not like police officers operating under corporate statute. So you do have a right to resist. However, before becoming a belligerent or combatant, I would highly urge you to request a sheriff or a marshal to be on the scene or that police officer's commanding officer. You have the right to do that. They do not have the right to refuse that. If they do, they're violating your due process and your rights. That's a federal offense. You also have the right, while in that scenario or you feel you're endangered, especially before they put handcuffs on you, to dial 911 and to tell them that you are being harassed by a rogue police officer. They will send out additional ones and that you are requesting a commanding officer. So if you're doing right to travel and you know you have everything done right, and you see that the situation has started to go left, I'm not saying that you downloaded a document off of the internet and you're like, well, I got right to travel. That is not how it works. I have a whole video on how to do it legally the correct way as a non-resident because your vehicle has to be owned by somebody who's not a resident of that state, which is your all caps name. Has to be your private trust, okay? Or other private entity that you may have created and transferred your vehicle into, and you've done everything correct. I'm talking about your license, your plates, all that. Everything has to be done. So do that before, but will the law back you up? Yes, the law will back you up if you protect yourself from a rogue officer or officers. However, you have to make sure that you have done all of these things beforehand. All right. So I'm not condoning anybody to do or say anything harmful. I'm just saying that by law, you do have the right to protect yourself. All right. Against somebody operating outside of the scope of their power. So, no, I've heard a police officer say, well, I'm the judge here. I'm a judge. You're not a judge. You do not have judicial powers. A judge does. You are part of the executive branch, which means you can do things, but you have to have the legal and lawful right to do them. This is why we've beaten them in court, judges, lawyers, attorneys, all alike. Now, a lot of people, once again, they like to say, oh, well, you're a YouTube lawyer. Once again, attorney in fact. All right. Just because I don't dress like it in all my videos does not mean I'm not knowledgeable. And there's a reason why judges have asked me if I was a lawyer and if I would join them because they don't want me doing it, well, I won't say for free, but to the public. So that's okay. Let's prove some points, shall we? This particular book that anybody can get on the internet is titled Police Misconduct, Law and Litigation from the National Lawyers Guild. So, do I have to be a lawyer, a YouTube lawyer, to buy this book? No. Anybody can go on the internet and look it up on because some of these lawyers who did pay a lot of money, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for these books brand new, along with America's jurisprudence, also very expensive. Get almost all these off of eBay if you guys want to educate yourself. So what do? I get these books, I read it, and I put it out there because it works. You have the lawful right to get these books, learn them, and deal with them on the side of the road professionally and in the courtroom. I've been doing this for almost 40 years now. Probably why I'm good at it. It's funny how other people have these YouTube channels out here and they want to talk smack, even lawyers, but yet I study the Constitution and the Constitution is superior to you. You guys study information that's inside the box. Little well. Constitution gives you guys the ability to do what you're doing. So it is superior and it is lawful. Anything underneath that is then legal. You've been given the right to do it to people who are members willingly. So, thing about the police misconduct book is as you go through it here, it talks about Supreme Court opinions in federal court cases. Why? Because that is the superior law. Once they've ruled on these things, it becomes lawful. But what the average person and the police officer is dealing with is legal. And that's why the police department has a division called the Internal Affairs. Because if you don't do something right, they're going to come after you and they have to try to see what if what you did was right or wrong. And you have a legal department. So if you think that they teach you guys everything, they don't. You guys are, no offense, the lowest on the totem pole within your municipality because they look at you guys as blunt instruments just to go out there and do the executive part for their members. You don't have jurisdiction over the private citizen unless they waive their rights by doing something criminal. Oh, and by the way, in case you guys didn't know, police officers do not have the right to pull you over for no reason. That's interfering with your interstate commerce, which is a federal offense, even for them. A private plate, and this was given to me also, which I already know, does not constitute a crime. It's not criminal at all. And it's a federal offense to you. And you guys are only protected up to your bonds, or if you don't have a bond, you have a blanket policy through risk management. And if you don't have any of that, you're just a fool. You really need to contact me because you need to get your stuff put into something private, like a private trust. Because all I'm telling you right now, mark my words, as time goes forward from the creation of this video, you're going to see more people filing lawsuits. I have so many people out there right now filing lawsuits. It's not even funny. And that's what we need to do because we've been nice, we've been polite, we've been non-belligerent, we've been non-combatant. And after all these years, I'm finally able to say, be cool in your traffic scenarios, stops, whatever else. As long as you can survive the situation, do so because afterwards you guys can sue them. And I'm going to teach you guys how. And it only will happen, change will only happen through the legal departments, because I know the legal departments watch my videos, Department of State. I know police officers who watch it. I've got people who were regular private citizens who became police officers who tell me things too. Look, all of this is supposed to be. We're not at war, but it seems like some of you guys, those people, some agencies, some rogue people in certain departments, clandestine operations are in fact warring against us. And then they run back and go and tell, oh, there's these sovereign citizens out here are doing all this crazy stuff. No, we're just exercising our rights. And we probably would have never started really looking deeply into our rights until we started getting abused, where somebody like me at the age of 15 and 16 gets almost shot by an officer jumping over his car trying to do some Dukes of Hazzard shit, talking about there were break-ins in the area and they need to know who I am while I'm on the bus stop. because people were stealing furniture and shit. And I have nothing on me, and I'm not even sitting on a chair or a love seat because I'm black. We wouldn't have started looking into all this if you guys would have just had the good cops step up and report the bad cops and get them out. No, I guess per the Constitution, we the people, I guess really it's our fault because we needed to step up. We needed to actually read. And if you're watching my videos, I don't care who you are, and you have not read the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution, why are you even watching my YouTube channel? You have to know that is the founding document that gives you the ability to do everything that's on my YouTube channel. You have your rights by God, and then we as good men create. And by the way, there's a difference between a full-size adult boy, male, which was what most of you girls out there watching my shows have dated, and an actual man. Completely different things. So, for the love of God, stop to those certain ones out there saying all men are trash. No, you've dated a grown ass boy. All right. So if you have not read those documents to understand that we good men and women came together, put those documents into place, it is God's law, natural law, private law first, then the constitutional law, and then state and municipality. It goes in that order. Don't believe me? Ask ChatGPT or Alexa. So in this book, it talks about all the stuff that I have given you guys. I'm just going to give you an example. Civil Rights Act, color of law, no specific intent required, bias of police officers as witnesses. These are all things that they can be sued as. Police officer can't really be the witness. Probable cause for arrest, illegal entry, perjury of officers, unreasonable force, denial of medical attention, duty to prevent other officers from violating rights. So, yes, right here, you as a good officer are in fact responsible for your other officer doing something wrong, and the federal government will protect you. And if the municipality doesn't protect you and back you, and then you can sue them too and win at least $1 million in court. I've seen it. Supervisory liability. Yes, your supervisor is responsible to make sure you do the right thing. That's why we, the people, if we start quoting codes, you better know how to deal with that or get your supervisor. Otherwise, he's responsible too. Which is why the last time I got bothered, which was like 2 years ago, I called the commanding officer of the sheriff's department, and I said, "We've got a problem here. These people don't seem your people don't seem to know the law, and they're supposed to. They're constitutional." And she made them go away. SAFP. Conspiracy, damages by officers, motions in limine, unconstitutional ordinances. I mean, it covers everything: press coverage, court records and files, jurisdictional questions, judges. This book is the coup d'etat, excessive force, arrest versus a detention, or what do you guys call it, a Terry stop? Failure to provide police protection, verbal abuse and harassment. It's all in here. All the things that an officer can and cannot do. So, some of y'all, you might want to get this. For others, that's why you guys watch my video. So a police officer is also allowed to lie to you. I don't know who told you guys on the street, oh, they can't lie. They're police officers. Yes, yes, they can. But depending on how and what they lie about, you can use that against them in court, just so you know your rights. But yeah, they're definitely allowed to lie to you. They can also mislead you. They're not your friends. No offense. Some are really good people and some can be your friends, but generally it depends on the actual person because they are taught and trained that only other police officers, which is why they generally stay to themselves in their own kind, that everybody else are just beneath you. This is actually not the truth because a private citizen is actually above a police officer. And did you know that even a if the officer has been found to be incorrect by law, or any person doing something criminal, there is what's known as a citizen's arrest, meaning a citizen can arrest anybody if they're doing something criminal or unlawful, including a police officer or sheriff or a marshal, any of them. Now, that doesn't mean you should go and put on a fake badge and go around watching police officers and trying to do something that's probably going to get you muffed up. Okay. But does that mean that you can record them? Yes. Now, some will say you can't record us, blah, blah, but you're a public servant. So, yes, you can be recorded. They cannot prevent you from protecting yourself or your rights unless you waive them. So, if they do have a sign or something up that says that, that's actually unconstitutional. The only places where you really can't record are places where it's truly private. So, inside of the police precinct, you probably cannot record past a certain point. In federal court or Supreme Court, you cannot record. Once again, that's private, and that's America. Police station is private and corporate, internal, so you can't record in there. But anything outside of that, absolutely you can. Unless there's a sign that says no recording from beyond this point anywhere, because then they're saying if you go past this point, you're waiving your rights to being able, and this is not a public location. Somewhere along the lines, we the people have forgotten that we are the boss and that they are the trustees. Oh, that's right. Because of their little shimmy sham and education system takeovers and beating people into submission. And because we have then registered most of our lives to them through voter registration and various public, which is our own money that is given from the government to the state through these organizations, municipalities, and whatever else, to then give us. And by signing up for those free benefits and privileges, we are then waiving our rights to be considered a public U.S. citizen versus a private state citizen or national. You've waived your rights from the Constitution to then be a member of theirs. But are there remedies? Are there freedoms? Absolutely. Thing is that most of you guys don't know them, which is why I've read a good chunk of these books, not as much as I would like to. And for some people who made a mention, they say, what's that over to your these books? Because yes, I had to get a whole other cabinet because I bought a whole lot more books. Now, for those people who don't know, I have probably about another 5 or 6 other YouTube channels, but there's only two that I'm really going to be operating on and that I have good videos on, we'll just say. And I will be talking about other subjects that I've learned, all right, and real life things. Like I said, you may not like me on my other channels, or you may love me even more because I'm going to be talking about every team on. All right. One is Badwolf Unlimited, where I'm going to be talking about pretty much anything, everything. My thoughts on ghosts, Earth, aliens, technology, health stuff under the guise of education and entertainment. Um, and then on the other channel, Bad Wolf, the Bad Wolf Media channel, I'm talking about only TV and news related things. I'm gonna help you guys learn how to see through the BS, the entertainment that's going on there. Now, along with the police misconduct, let me break you guys off a little something proper, like as we used to say in the old days. You can disagree with me if you guys want. I've been in this a long time. If you guys see a court case on TV, it is no matter how vile, no matter how absurd, lives, essays, not essays in like vatos, essays in like assaults, assaults. Even though I do have Spanish in my family. Um, it is all entertainment. It is a narrative that they control. How can I say that? Because generally those are put on by the state of, and the state ofs are for-profit corporations. They're supposed to operate, or let me say this correctly, they can operate within their own, which is legal, or under the Constitution, which is lawful. Each state has a constitution, but they can also operate legally, meaning corporately, unless you invoke your constitutional rights. You don't invoke your constitutional rights, you get legal corporation, corporate statutes. There's a difference there. And if you don't say anything, then they can assume that you, as a U.S. citizen, must have forgot, or you are just, you waived knowingly that, and you are a U.S. citizen, and so you're saying that. And for the people out there who don't know that there's a difference between a U.S. citizenship, and nationality, I'm gonna have to ask you to look up 8 FAM 300 or 8 FAM section 301.1 to be specific, where the federal law says that there is a difference between nationality and citizenship, which other countries generally do not have, but we have here. Which means there's a difference between you being a U.S. citizen and a national or a state citizen. There's a difference. You can operate in either one because you're born with the national state citizen, non-resident standing first, and then you acquire by law U.S. citizenship, which means you are a member of the District of Columbia. We're all one big family, but you can operate as who you see fit, the real you or the legal you. So, 8 FAM, section 301.1. We'll break that particular information down for you. You guys have far more power than you guys realize. They only tap into that power usually around election time, because remember, you're a registered voter. So they need to gather the power of the people into each one of them, and then you're bestowing it upon them to speak for you. But just as you put them into office, you can get together and have them pulled out. But the average person is so lazy, there's like, what can one person do? I'm one person, and I've reached millions of people at this point in time, but not in a belligerent or combatant way. And I'm definitely not an enemy of the state. I love the state. I love the government. I love police officers. I love sheriffs, the good ones. And if that offends any of you, then it must mean you're a bad one. That's just how that works. So, but yeah, what else can I tell you? Um, well, there's actually a lot, but a majority of that information is going to be in the seminars that we put on. Now, obviously, I could go on and just read chapter for chapter. And at some point in time, maybe I will break down a lot of that information and just, you know, have a whole chapter on this, this, and this. All right. But I'm going to give you guys the highlights and the key points and deeper understanding, overstanding, and meaning in the seminar. So be looking for those. Where can you find out more information? Blacksite32.com, jameslovett.com, or badwolfunincorporated.com. Head to the seminars page, and on the seminars page, you will be able to see, click on the links for whichever one you guys want to watch. We'll have some of the free ones there. We'll have the paid ones there. And some of the other free ones, I'm just going to just do in lives and whatever else. So don't worry, I will definitely bring you guys information. But don't forget to support me on my other YouTube channels, Unlimited and Badwolf Media channel. You can find them both on YouTube. And for those people on TikTok, thank you for joining me over there and coming over here and vice versa. I appreciate you guys. So before I go, is there anything else I can really tell you? Um, I'll tell you this. A lot of police officers, sheriffs, and whatever else don't know that they're doing something wrong. So you can't be completely mad at them because you've learned something they don't. Try to give them quick and simple on overstanding. But at the end of the day, they're not, most of, not shouldn't say most, some of them are not going to want to talk about it. Some of them are very good at listening because they don't know and they want to know. Why do you think I've gotten contacted and had some of them do consultations with me? They're like, specifically, can you break this down? Can you show me the state code on that? I give it to them. They're like, wow, I did not know that, Mr. Lovett. Yeah, because you're not taught that. The only way that we're going to be able to get a majority of them, see, it takes people filing complaints, even though some of those complaints go missing. Yeah, I know how that works too. It takes, unfortunately, having to sue them, some of them, and the department for then their quality control people to then say, okay, look, we're losing a ton of money here, which is what we're going to have to do, unfortunately. And they're going to have to update their training processes. Right now, I know that there are groups that travel around the United States who watch my videos to learn this and then go back and teach these training seminars around the country. And one of the people in there they were asked a question and they said, well, what about these right to travel people? And this particular person, who I believe was a retired officer who now teaches a lot of this stuff to officers, may or may not be retired. I'm not sure. I think he was retired. One of them said, look, there are some private citizens out there who just want to be left alone. So unless they're doing something criminal, leave them alone. Other ones who are not doing things right that they refer to as sovereign citizens, those are the people you bust. Which means if you don't watch the videos, have them right to travel and do it the proper way, you're going to be labeled as a sovereign citizen, which is defamation of character, and you can't sue them for that. Which is why they may say it, but you're almost never going to see them write it down. So, shout out to the Department of State, because I know you guys watch my videos. We don't know if it's you and shot goes out to the United States Postal Service, because I know you guys watch my videos too. Whichever one of you guys are writing on certain people's applications, sovereign citizen, that is a suable offense to that agent directly and your department. I'm just giving you, as your fellow constitutional person, a fair heads up. Because when state citizens and nationals do their passport and you put that on their application, and then we do a FOIA request and we see that you didn't do something properly or you put that on there, that is a suable offense. So that anybody who's doing a FOIA request on their passport and you see that written on there, see if you can ascertain if it's a Department of State employee or a United States Postal Service person who feels some type of way, making a judicial judgment, and they don't have that as a legal capacity, that is a suable offense. So they'll get paid. And to those departments, update and correct your employees before the lawsuits start coming as a heads up, because they will come. Guarantee you. Not because I'm telling them per se that they have to, but they have that as a right. So I like to keep the playing field neutral. Let's have no controversy. But if people are going to do things against your constitutional rights, which is the superior law in the United States of America, my America, God bless America, patriot, then we will have at thee, we the people. What else can I tell you about police misconduct? A lot of them don't know this information. They think that they are superior. They are only superior when a crime or a violation of the law has occurred. And in that moment, otherwise, they are a trustee. A trustee is not superior to the beneficiary or the trustor. Those are the ones who put the trustee into position because, in fact, you are a public officer. Public officer is a public trustee, which means you are subservient to everything and everybody out there, other than U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens has very little rights, but I digress. So, what else can I tell you? New officers generally have to work the graveyard shift. So those are going to be the harder ones to deal with, the ones who work late night. They are generally retired or ex-military. They are usually people who take orders and don't question them, which is the exact type of person that they want. They don't want people like me with high IQs who question things and overstand the law. They want a blunt instrument who goes out there and does what they say. The officers who do know what's going on, who've been around, are going to be during the daytime shift because that's the gravy shift. Less crime during the day. Those are going to be your better officers who go, yep, I know what that is. I do not want to be sued. I am good. Have a good day. Are your papers in order? Yep, everything's good here. And they're not even going to bother you because they already know what it is. Your commanding officers are not telling you, lower level officers or recruits, the whole story. They want you to find out on your own. As they say, what, honor amongst thieves, if you will? They also don't want you to know that you, as officers, in the private when you're at home, are also state citizens and nationals and have a constitutional side and have private rights. You're doing a job. And all other things officers don't know is that that name in all capitalized lettering on those documents is a membership name for a legal person, a U.S. citizen. So they don't want you to know about your private rights. They don't want you to know that you're a state citizen. They don't want you to know about the Constitution and that is superior law over what you're doing. Understand that officers also do not know the full law. We as kids were taught to respect them, and so we should. They're doing a public service. But in that 9 months, you are not taught full law. You're taught traffic safety for the public, public administration. Public administration does not mean you can tell people just to do whatever. Matter of fact, a majority of the things you're not even supposed to bother people about unless it's somebody's reporting that it's a problem. I could go on and on. There's a lot of little things, like I said, I've learned over the years, but it's understanding that even police officers are not untouchable, meaning that if a police officer or sheriff or marshal, whoever else, knowingly is breaking the law, you can be held to the law. And your state or sovereign immunity is then waived. And if you have a history of it, which is another thing for the people, what is it? Okay. So I just learned recently that you can request a police officer's personnel file. This will allow you to see if they have been accused of other things and what they've been doing. You can also go online and go look and see if the police officer or the judge or whoever is on the Brady list. See if they have other violations, and then you can use those violations in your lawsuit against them. Now, if you're a good cop, you don't have anything to worry about, or sheriff or whoever else, nothing to worry about. But if you're not, well, then your file can be used against you. Now, as always, I'm not telling anybody to go out there and to do specifically anything. I'm saying you have the capability to do these things. Never be a belligerent or combatant unless you have to. Always survive the scenario and live to tell the tale and sue them in court because that seems to be the only way we're going to change their learning curriculums for the ones who are bad. It's the only way we're going to get the good cops out there to report the bad cops because you can report them anonymously. I know one of the big things for a lot of cops out there is that they don't want to cross the blue line of secrecy, but you can report them to internal affairs anonymously. Because how many bad cops do you then have if good cops don't report them? You know why there's tons of songs against F the police and whatever else? When I've never heard any songs about F the firemen is because of the dirty cops, the dirty sheriffs, the dirty whatever. I know one sheriff who's a good sheriff, and I don't know if he got into trouble, but I do know specifically he covered up a crime. So what does that then make him? Accessory. Does that make him a bad sheriff? Not amongst other sheriffs. They like to cover up everything and keep everything quiet. I understand that. Who doesn't? Who wants all their business out there? Who doesn't want to protect their fellow man because they made a mistake? But the problem is, was it a mistake? And if it was, just fess up to it. Or does this person have criminal intent? Because I'll tell you this, there was a CIA and FBI report. I've read these things where it said a lot of people who belong to various factions and hate groups out there were starting to apply to become officers of the law in the various branches to be able to do the things that they want to do and get away with it. It's a government report. Look, nobody's perfect. Nobody can be an angel, but there is doing the right thing. So at the end of the day, wherever there are people, there is bound to be some fraud, some corruption, some whatever, because we have freedom of will, right? So protect yourselves if you are a good person, good cop, a good sheriff, a good marshal, good U.S. citizen, good private citizen. Protect yourself, report the bad, and we will minimize the problems, have better discernment, take accountability and responsibility for your actions. Otherwise, other people's actions may have a negative recourse on you. With that being said, once again, if you're watching my channel, read the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. Know your rights. And I would urge officers of the law to hold their oath of office. Because if you're not serving the people and doing the people justice, then who exactly are you serving?